Hey Flosstube, it's Misty Purcell. Today is Saturday, and unbelievably, it's already August 25th. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. It's the end of August. The 'Tis the Season sale is coming soon. I'm really excited. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you've been here before, thanks for coming back to visit. I've had a good couple of weeks. It really feels like it's only been about 1 week since I was last visiting with you. Time sped up now that classes have started back at the university. So I've been busy with my classes. I finally got my schedule just a few days before classes started. I was joking that I would show up Monday morning and someone would just tell me where to go. Luckily that's not quite how it went. And I have four sections and I have 3 different classes. So I have I started at 8 a.m., which I haven't taught at 8 a.m. in a number of years. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, but I was teaching at 9 a.m. last spring, so it's not that much different, except that just, it's a little different to be there a little bit earlier. But I started at 8 a.m. I have 2 sections of Spanish 3, and then I have Spanish 10, which is an intensive course. Spanish 3 meets twice a week, Spanish 10 meets 4 days a week, and then I have 1 fully online course, and this is my first time teaching an online course. I'm teaching Spanish 1, and I've taught Spanish 1 before, just not online. So it's more just figuring out how to use the online stuff to teach the class or to grade and things like that. So classes went well. We've all survived. My 8 a.m. has been slowly like bleeding out. All the students are, I started with like 18. And I think I'm down to like 11 or 12. So I guess I've got what's left of the morning people in that class. It was a good first week, and yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back into the swing of things. I feel like at the end of the summer, I've usually like recovered enough that I'm like, okay, time to go back. I'm ready. And that's how I felt. So that was good. And I also attended the Grange Fair, the county fair, this week on Wednesday. And I've only been one other time. I'm not from Pennsylvania originally, and it happens during the first week of classes. It starts right before, and then it's during the first week of classes, which is usually not a great time for me to get away, but my schedule this time was good enough and I could. So Wednesday I went to the Grange Fair and I wanted to see the exhibits. The last time I went, if you go too early, then the exhibits aren't open to everyone yet, and so that's what I did the time before when I went. So I wanted to make sure I went late enough that I would actually get to see the quilts and other handcrafts. And I did. It was cool. I saw a decent amount of stitching, cross stitch, and a lot of quilts, a decent amount of knitting and crochet. There was a little bit of weaving, maybe 2 items I think I saw that were woven, and a little bit of wool applique. One thing I saw that was interesting, I saw diamond painting. It got best of show. It was this huge glittering snowman, really pretty, and then they had like a kind of a printed background, and it was probably like, I don't know, 4 feet tall, 3 feet tall. It was framed and matted with glass over it. It was really, really pretty. So that got best of show. I'm sure there's like more than one thing that gets best of show. I'm not really sure what the rules are for that, but it was cool. And then we toured, and then it rained because we had a really rainy summer in this part of Pennsylvania. It's the rainiest summer I can remember, so it had to rain while we were there. We took shelter, and then we went to check out the animals. So saw the goats, of course, and I saw the rabbits and poultry, and we checked out some of the dairy cows and the beef cows, and it was cool. Ate a lot of stuff, probably shouldn't have eaten. It was good. I might try entering something at some point. It's kind of a hard time of the year because I'm getting ready to go back to school, and so I don't really have the time to worry about entering things and dropping them off and picking them up, but it might be nice. I feel like the cross stitch that was there was cute. It just wasn't quite my style, and the kind of cross stitch that I like to do wasn't really represented, so maybe it would be good for me to enter just to show other ways that other styles of cross stitch that people could do. So maybe we'll see. I'm not gonna worry about it. I have other things to worry about. I wanted to mention who I've been watching lately. I squeezed in one new person. I'm kind of trying to, I'm behind again. Well, we all are, right? I mean, that's just the norm. So, but I managed to squeeze in watching one new person, and that was Bird Stitcher Colorado. That's Betsy. I just watched her yesterday. I didn't even get a chance to leave a comment on her video, but I did watch her and really liked her. She's working on, I think it's called Song of the Seasons from Blackbird Designs. It was very pretty. And Coffee Bean Sampler. I'm not sure if she just finished that or she was close to a finish on that. And she's going to join in on the 'Tis the Season Stitch Along, which starts Saturday, September 1st. So 1 week from today. You can still join in. You can join in late. There are over 700 people, I think, now in the Facebook group. So she's doing that, and she has a really nice sense of humor. She was filming her most recent video outside, and she was talking about her husband, like, watching her from inside the house, and then, like, the neighbor was talking to their dog, and there's people mowing, and so it was amusing, and she has a good sense of humor about it all. So go check out Betsy if you haven't. I will link her in the description below the video. Okay, so I don't have like a ton to share today. I've been real busy, unfortunately, and so I don't have a ton, but I've made some progress. I have one FO, it's an FFO, and if you remember from last week, I had started my ghost doily, and here it is. Oh, it's so cute, I love it. So this is called Boo. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, which I will link again to in the description below the video. I used what I think is a size 10 crochet thread. I don't remember what my hook size was, maybe 1.5 millimeter. I don't know. I can look it up if you need that information, but it's whatever you normally use with a size 10 crochet thread. So this just turned out adorable. I blocked it yesterday, and so basically I tried to get it circular first and kind of measured out from the center, and then I pulled up the little, it wasn't actually a picot, but it looks kind of like a picot. The little loops to make it pointy. So it's darling. I love it. And one thing I did differently from the pattern if you make this is once you get up to the top of the head, you're supposed to start skipping a stitch on each side of the head, which makes it look a little bit more stair-step decrease. And I wanted more of a smooth, circular looking decrease. So instead of skipping a double crochet 2 together and then double crocheting 2 together, so skipping one from below and then just making another double crochet 2 together, I actually crocheted into the double crochet, the decrease from below, and I did a 3 double crochet together on this row, and I did that on the next row too. So as I started to shape the top of the head, instead of skipping one and then decreasing, I just did into the stitch below and then the next 2 to make a double crochet 3 together. You can do whatever you want. This is just what I did because I wanted a little bit more of a round look. So it's awesome. I'm super excited to put it on display. You know I'm not putting this away. I mean, I'm just going to put it out, and when I get the rest of my stuff out in a week or 2, then I'll just be ready. Aww. And this designer also has a pumpkin doily I found, which is awesome. It's little jack-o'-lanterns, and there's like 4 of them. It's kind of a square one. And I'm like, oh, I gotta do that too. I don't know for sure if I'm gonna do it this year. I think I am. But my orange crochet thread is more of like a yellowish brown orange, and it's fine. I've used it before for Halloween stuff, but I want something I think a little bit more red orange. So I'm gonna be on the hunt for a little bit more of a red orange color for that. So if I find it soon, I'll probably start it, and if I don't, then I might not until next year. But it's also a free pattern. I'll link that one too so you can see it if you want to. And as an aside, I don't know if you noticed, but Halo got smaller, and that's because when I was blocking my ghost doily, I turned the fan on in the room because I wanted to circulate the air and try to dry it faster so I could have it ready for today. And then I came in and like Halo was floating to the ground like leaves, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever, because I have like rows sewn together, and then I had like a row and part of another that wasn't sewn. It was just like hanging out on the wall, and they were just all over. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to deal with you right now. So it's just hanging out for now, which is probably good because I get direct sunlight coming in on this wall in the mornings, and I've been worrying because I'm so slow on working on this right now. I'm really worrying that I could have some fading. So maybe for the best that it fell off. So that was awesome. I'm super happy about that finish. It was fun. It was slow, you know, I won't lie. It took me a bit, but it wasn't like super slow. And it's awesome. So I'm happy. Whips. Not a whole lot of whips. The usual suspects. My American flag quilt sampler, which if you've been watching for a while, you'll know I've been working on this since my birthday, April 30th. This is by Rosewood Manor. I am stitching it on 40 count, I think it's Soft Ivory by Zweigert. And ta-da! Meet Virginia. I like that song. So here's Virginia. That was a pretty quick stitch, actually. And unlike normal, so normally I don't do any of the, well, this isn't really an exception. Normally the back stitching that is done on top of the stitches to look like quilt stitches, like quilting, I don't usually do that. I do that back stitching. I just don't back stitch over top of X's right now because I think it looks fine either way. And if I decide it needs it, I'll go in and add it later. But with this one, you have some rows of X's and then you have rows of back stitching in between. Hopefully you can see that. And I just went ahead and did the back stitches there. I finished it up this morning. So yeah, that one was a pretty quick one. And it's just kind of amazing to see how much this thing has grown since like a month or two ago. So I've said this a million times and it bears repeating that I love this. I've learned a lot about my stitching style preferences from doing this project, and what I realized about myself, I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but what works for me about this piece, I can do a big piece if I see progress that looks like a thing. So I would not be a good candidate for doing any kind of heaven and earth design because it would just look like a bunch of blobs for too long and I would lose motivation. But this, because it has something that looks like something quickly, relatively quickly, I could do. So that's just a good thing for me to realize about myself so that I am careful about the kinds of projects I choose to start, knowing that, you know, it's got to look like something soon. I am a process, but I'm also a product stitcher and crafter in general. So I do need to, in this case at least, on this project, I need it to look like something soon or I can't do it. And so thankfully it does. So this is right up my alley. And I was trying to do like a length out here every time I worked on it, and I haven't been doing that. So it's just getting the love I can give it, which is about one motif every 2 weeks right now. If you ever want to join in, the stitch along is called AFQSAL. You can hashtag that on Instagram if you ever want to do that. I know there are a few other people who are working on it as they can. So feel free to join in if you want to. If you are like me and this is the kind of thing that works for you, then this might be something you'd enjoy. And also, I can't remember whose video I was watching. I think I was watching a video. I was watching someone's Flosstube and they showed another Rosewood Manor and it was a Halloween one. Oh my god, I have to have that. So cute. It's got some quilt blocks, not anywhere near as many. Oh, the kitty. Yeah, so that's on my wish list. I don't know if it's called Quaker Halloween or quite what it's called, but it's awesome. And then When Witches Go Riding by Prairie Schooler. And this is what I'm stitching for a piece that I found at the antique shop a couple months ago when I was with my mom that I haven't shown you yet because I want to surprise you. So this is going to be displayed on that, and so I've been working on it as I can to hopefully have it done by like October 1st. That would be ideal. And I am coming along. I really like it. So last time I showed this to you, I just had a little bit of this upper border left to do. And so I've done the font, which I like this font, it's quite pretty. And I'm starting to work on the moon here. I'm trying to not carry my threads too much because I'm afraid that it will show in this case. This is a 32 count and it's a linen that I hand dyed myself. And it says Zweigert. And I have brightened up the colors a bit from what the pattern had. This orange is a brighter orange. It looks more actually like what is on the pattern photo, orange-wise, than what the actual DMC looks like. The DMC that it calls for is a little bit browner, a little bit more vintage looking. And then you can see that this cream is kind of more pale, and I went with a bit of a yellower color there. I think I've kept everything else the same other than those two things. So I'm enjoying this. I'll keep working on it. And my awesome needle minders on my projects are from Mad for Minders on Etsy. No affiliation, just a fan. And she, I just found out, came out with, if you watched my video last week, I showed little TVs that I'd asked her to make with the peanuts. And I had asked for peanuts for Halloween and Christmas. And she just came out with one for Thanksgiving, which you should check out. I'll link that too. Super cute. So it's going on my wish list. The next time I place an order, I have to get that because it's awesome. Okay, I'm still weaving my towels, so that's my other whip that I can't really show you because it's on the loom. Well, I guess I could. Do you want to see what's on the loom? Okay, so here's what I'm currently working on, and I'm getting near the end of my warp, and you can see technically they're supposed to be stars, but you could interpret these as poinsettias, snowflakes, however you like, whatever you think this is. And you can see down below, I did some red ones. So this is the back side. So the back side, or it could be the front. I mean, I can choose when I'm done, but it shows more white on one side and more of the red on the other. They're just the opposite. So that's what I've been working on, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I had a little incident, which I'll tell you about in just a second. Incident was that when I mentioned previously that I had adjusted some things on my loom and it was weaving much better, I had to move all of my springs inside the castle to a different loop. They're tensioned. So when I did that, one of the springs, the loop was already fraying and it broke. And so I had to move the spring farther on the loop and create more tension. But I could see that probably that's not going to hold. So I knew I would need to replace it, the cording. And this is what it looks like in case you're interested. This is what's inside the loom. It's called Texsolve cord, and you can see there's little loops. So my spring was attached, and here's where it frayed. So it was attached, you know, here, and I knew I'd have to replace it, so I thought, well, if I can get through this warp, I will, you know, without it breaking, I'll do that, and then if it breaks, then I'll stop and fix it. And so I was weaving along, and I heard this noise, and spring kind of making a noise, and nothing, like, happened. It's just, like, it was hanging by, like, a thread of this at that point. So I had to stop weaving and take out the screw that holds this in place and, like, unattach a bunch of stuff. And it actually wasn't, like, measure out a new cord. It wasn't that hard, except when I needed to kind of put everything back together, I needed, like, a third hand, and I only had two. Somehow, because my boyfriend had gone home for the day, so I didn't have anyone to help me, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna have to do this. So I managed to get it all back on, and then it's weaving fine. So it was not a big deal, but it was just like, oh, okay, I can't put this off. I have to deal with this now. So that's done. So I'm almost done with my warp. It's the longest one I've done in terms of just how much yarn I put on the loom so that I could weave more. And then I've just been busy, so it's been a bit slow, but I should be done with my towels pretty soon. I'll cut them off and start hemming, and they'll be ready for the shop. So look for an Etsy shop update pretty quick here. Hopefully, hoping by next weekend. So hopefully by next Saturday at the latest, or Sunday, sometime next weekend. And if you would like to know when that is, I post on Instagram that the shop has been updated, and I also post on my Luminous Fiber Arts Facebook page about my Etsy shop. So you can like that if you'd like to, so that you can get updates. I don't have like a newsletter right now, but that's one way that you could get updates. So that's what I've been up to with those whips. My plans. So I'm doing the 'Tis the Season sale, which I already mentioned, and That's almost here. I think we've been talking about it since March. And, oh, I didn't bring my book. Okay, well, I think you've probably seen the cardinal. You probably know what it looks like. So I showed this before, but I thought I'd show it again. It looks a little nicer now. But this is the, I'm going to do mine on 40 count. I dyed this linen myself. The color is a bit more of a blue-green than you can tell. That's pretty close there. So these are the flosses that I'm using. So I'm using, it likes me. Okay. I think Poison Apple maybe was the called for, Belsois, and I'm using Tulip because the Poison Apple, or whatever it was that I saw, was very pink, and I wanted something a little bit redder. This is beautiful. I've got Nancy, a Victorian Motto threads, the orange for the beak and the legs. I'm using her floss. I'd picked out a different gold from what was called for, and I'm using Whiskey from Weeks. Attic Tea, that's Belsois. Got Moss, which is this kind of grayish, greenish, blackish, charcoalish color. Vanilla Pudding, Belsois. And then I've got Mud Pie, Belsois. Then there's a green, and it calls for this green if you're going to use DMC. And Nancy did a fine job replicating that color, but I think I want something a little bit more mottled, and so I kind of want something that looks like, I don't know, all these four together. That's a tall order, but I'm gonna go hopefully to the needle workshop this weekend or next weekend and see if I can find a green, because I haven't had time to try and dye one. See if I can find a green, an over-dyed, you know, not necessarily Belsois, but just anything that kind of looks like these, and then I'll incorporate that. So after this video, I think I'm going to get my scroll rod loaded up with my fabric, find my starting point, and I'll just get all excited for the next week until we can start. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm debating what I will put as text. I know, you know, some people are putting the English, some people are putting the French, some people aren't putting anything or changing it. I might put the French. I'm not sure. I think it's gonna be like the last thing I do, so I have plenty of time to think about it. And other plans. I have something special coming up that I'm really excited about sharing with you. And so it's something that's been keeping me real busy, and that's part of why I don't have a lot to show just yet, but I will be revealing all soon. So watch for a special video coming up soon. Won't be long now, okay? That's all I can say. Sorry to be so cryptic. Instead of doing like a from the archives of something that I've finished, I did this once before, like a whip I wish I were working on. I sort of wish I were working on this, except I have too many things going, so I can't really keep it in the rotation. But I'll show you something. It's a quilt that I started a couple years ago. It's really cool. I just haven't finished it, and it needs some more work. So without further ado, I will show you first the book. This is 318 Patchwork Patterns. And it's by Kumiko Fujita. This is the English edition. Really, it wouldn't matter because there isn't that much wording to it anyway. But you can see all the totally adorable, look at that witch, blocks. It's a mix of applique and foundation paper piecing. So, so cute. The patterns, the surprising thing is that the patterns are very tiny in the book and you have to enlarge them. So that's what I did. Each pattern, each like template is only like, I'll just quick show you. It's like 2 by 2. So I took photos with my phone, and then I blew it up in an Word, I think it was. And then I just figured out what size I wanted. So, I mean, 2 by 2. I think I ended up, how big did I make it? I don't honestly remember. I have notes, which I clearly don't have ready for you today. I didn't decide on like the final block size, but I think I was aiming for a piece that was about 6 inches finished. But I left the background fabric larger so that I could cut it down to whatever size I ultimately wanted. So I think I maybe did like 9.5 or 8.5 inch block, and then I can just kind of make it whatever. I didn't have an exact layout in mind. I kind of wish, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to keep showing these to you because they're just so cool. I kind of wish that I'd thought to put them on point because I really like quilts on point with blocks on point, but I didn't. So that's not happening now because it would look weird. But if I had thought of that, I would have done that. So, oh, there's a lot in here. Well, I did say there were 318. Maybe this will take a while. I didn't think they pictured all of them. Aww. Okay, let's get to the applique. Okay. So the method I'm using for applique is that it? Yeah, okay. I guess that's all they're gonna show. The method I'm using for applique is a freezer paper glue stick method where you fuse your freezer paper to the front, the right side of your fabric, and you turn your seam or your edge over to the back of your fabric with a glue stick and push it in place so that it's all shaped. Rather than doing the opposite, forming it around your freezer paper and then trying to pull your freezer paper out. This is just right on the front. You flip it over and you turn your seams over and glue them down, and then your shape's ready to go. And you just stick it where you want to, glue baste it in place with Roxanne's glue baste it, and then you stitch it. So some of these are just basted and some of these are stitched. So here we go. Let's see, this one is half and half. And so how I started this quilt was I just kind of picked a color palette I liked and I pulled some fabrics from my stash. And the problem I'm kind of running into is it feels like it's not scrappy enough and I'm having trouble finding a purple that coordinates with that purple. So that's one issue that I'm having that's keeping me from really making progress. This one is not stitched down at all. This is just glue basted. Now, I really like this method of applique. It's very easy and it's kind of fun to play with the glue stick, to be quite honest. Like, cut paper shapes out and play with glue stick. It's pretty fun. The bad thing for me about this is then this looks done. And I'm like, well, I know what it looks like, so now I don't really want to do anything, but I have to still stitch it down because it's just glued in place. So the part of me that wants to see what's going to happen is satisfied, and then the follow through is harder to do. That's one of my personality flaws. Okay, this one's fully stitched down. I use YLI silk thread to applique my pieces down. I just happen to like that. That's how I started doing it, and it's my preferred method. Can you see the little kitty cat face right there? I love this. This is so fun. And of course, you know, the fussy cut blossom. This was a lot of fun. And I have kind of an imagined layout. I have a quilting software that lets you design, and so I took photos of all the blocks that I have and stuck them in there. So I have a potential layout for this, but I need to make some more blocks, and I was thinking of making 16. I've got some others like kind of prepped, but you know, I just kind of lost steam on this because I tend to do that on quilts. Oh, this fabric, by the way, I'll turn it up the other way. This fabric is Jane Austen fabric. Mr. Knightley must marry no one but herself. Do you remember that? Indeed. So this is really awesome fabric. They also have it, I think, in a blue or a turquoise or something. This one is also, all the rest of these are completely stitched down. Totally adorable, as most Japanese things are. This one I actually used to teach a class on how to do this technique. Yeah, getting it out makes me want to work on it. And then this is the last one that I have done. So, super cute. I know I will turn it into a quilt. Like, there's no way I'm just completely abandoning this. I know it'll become a quilt one of these days, but when? When is the question. I mean, I think that's actually going to get priority before I come back to this, but this will be one of those 10 years later. Okay, girl. Time to deal with it. So I've washed out the glue on some of these, and I need to do it on the rest of them. I just don't like to leave the glue in long term, but that's something that I should take care of just in case. But the glue is washable. I used one of those, it's the Yoo-Hoo glue sticks, the purple ones, and then the glue based it. And you can use a stiletto to kind of turn things over, which is fun. So that's what I've got for today. I hope you've had a great couple of weeks. I hope you're getting lots of stitching or other kinds of crafting in, whether it be knitting or crochet or weaving or quilting or something else like spinning, whatever it is you like to do. Hope you've been doing a lot of it. I will see you soon. Have a great couple of weeks and take care.